This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
This is India Global. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. Let's start the show with headlines this evening. First up, India slams Bangladesh over Hindu priest's arrest. India says it's deeply concerned by the arrest and the denial of bail. Nepal Prime Minister says no loans to be signed during his upcoming China visit. Is China's BRI project now in troubled waters? Donald Trump's pledges big tariffs on China, Canada and Mexico. Donald Trump vows a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico and an additional 10% on Chinese goods. India marks the 16th anniversary of the horrific 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, remembering the victims and honouring the bravery of India's security forces. The coordinated attacks carried out by 10 armed terrorists from Pakistan over 4 days in 2008 claimed 160 lives and left 300 injured. India marks a historic milestone as it observes the 75th anniversary of the adoption of its constitution, with year-long celebrations set to unfold under the campaign theme Hamara Samvidhan, Hamara Swabhiman. President Draupadi Murmu released a commemorative coin and postage stamp on the occasion. All right, on to our big story that we are discussing right now on India Global. Chinmoy Krishna Das Brahmachari, the spokesperson of the Bangladesh United Sanatan Awakening Alliance, has been presented in court in Chittagong, and in fact he's been denied bail in Bangladesh. Sources say his bail was denied due to grounds that are not yet clear. The Hindu priest is at the forefront of movement against atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh. In fact, he was sent to the Chattogram jail from Dhaka overnight amidst demands for his immediate release. The BJP in West Bengal is organizing protests after former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, was forced to flee Bangladesh. Extremist Islamic forces have now targeted minorities, particularly Hindus, in the last 3 months. Let's get in my colleague Mohammad Ghazali to fill us in with the very latest as far as this case is concerned, which has actually sent shockwaves, Ghazali, around the Hindu community both in Bangladesh and around the world.
Yeah, what we have been told that the Magistrate Court of Qazi Shariful Islam has denied bail to this Hindu priest, and the charges, sources are confirming that in one of these protests back in October, when he was charged with this crime of treason, he was accused of disrespecting Bangladeshi flag, is what the actual charge is. But the larger picture is that even the Hindu community there in Bangladesh have been pleading the Indian government as well as other agencies to take note of it and pressure the Bangladesh's interim government led by Mr. Yunus to ensure that atrocities against minorities should stop at the earliest. But since August 5, since the regime change in Bangladesh, and a couple of weeks later when Mr. Yunus was handed over the government, it was under intense pressure to ensure that the Awami League supporters of Sheikh Hasina as well as the minorities in Bangladesh don't face any kind of atrocities, but that didn't happen. And almost every week, if I remember correctly, in every press briefing here back in Delhi, the Emmy had categorically rejected all these allegations that India was somewhere fomenting this trouble and kept on appealing the Bangladeshi government there to ensure the safety of minorities, but certainly that hasn't happened. And now this new priest who has been arrested, the scenes outside the court when today as his bail was denied and police was taking him out of the court towards the police station, that is when
Ali, stay with us because I want to stay with us. I want to quickly, in fact, tell our viewers about the visuals that have come in where those who were protesting the priest's arrest were, in fact, there was a crackdown against them that we can play on our screen for our viewers to see. In fact, there was some very violent crackdown that took place as far as the protests that happened from the Hindu community against the arrest of the Hindu priest. All right, Mohammad Ghazali, appreciate you giving us that perspective on what is happening as far as Bangladesh is concerned. All right, Major Rezaul Karim as well as Ayanjit Sen joins me on the broadcast to discuss this in detail. In fact, Ayanjit, let me start with you first. As things stand right now, these are some very disturbing visuals coming in as far as the specific instance of the Hindu priest being arrested, being denied bail, but also more importantly giving credence to what India has been saying for several months now, which is that the Hindu community is being targeted.
Well, I'd like to say where faith is shattered and homes are reduced to ashes and lives to dust, the Hindus in Bangladesh are kept facing an unyielding storm of extremism, and what Chinmoy Krishna said, it is not an outspoken stance on any minority rights, but he's also held protests over atrocities against Hindus, but who were organized very peacefully. But unfortunately, he was treated like a terrorist because he had held those protests. And today, at the end of the day, after his arrest, Hindu protests are still continuing. But I think it's yet another dark chapter, as far as the prosecution of the Hindus in Bangladesh go. And there has been a systematic violence. And I wonder what the US government is doing, the administration is doing, because what Hizbullah Tahrir, Jamaat, and Hafaz-e-Islam, these groups are, roaming around the streets of Bangladesh without any fear. And that's something which definitely the current administration in Bangladesh should look into. Otherwise, things are going to go out of hand. And even the Indian Minister of External Affairs has also voiced its concern regarding this. So, it's something which, just because you are speaking, and it's not speaking against any the administration or against any party. He just simply, Chinmoy Krishna just simply said that, we are not with any political party. We want to safeguard, our safeguard, that's the safeguard of safeguarding the Hindus. And that's something which, it's a free speech country.
Let's get in Major Rezaul Karim to respond to that. Respond to that, Major Rezaul Karim, which is that this has shattered the Hindu community and also raises questions once again of targeted attacks.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone in India and also in Bangladesh. Actually, before giving the answer, I just give introduction about actually what is the purpose of ISKCON. Actually, one of the motto of ISKCON is that reawaken their love of all human beings for God. So this is a very good motive that which the ISKCON has as per and this ISKCON belongs to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and it is based philosophical based is on Sanskrit Bhagavad Gita. So we definitely respect their sentiment, but what is happening in Bangladesh, that is surprisingly a bit different. That doesn't go with any religious sentiment, like other as mentioned by Mr. Arjit Sen. That in Bangladesh there are many religious groups like Harkatul Jihad and many other. So ISKCON is also same a religious sentiment group from Hindu community. ISKCON doesn't represent
Major
all
Rezaul
the
Karim,
Hindus.
my question was,
Yeah.
this arrest would have shattered the Hindu community. And it...
Yeah, I'm coming to the questions.
Yeah.
I'm coming to the questions. So the ISKCON, it doesn't represent the whole Hindu community because ISKCON was founded in 1966. But Hindu religion, it is thousand years back. So my respect to all the Hindu community people, but ISKCON is actually creating different sentiment in Bangladesh. And also Bangladeshi people, what they are doing to ISKCON, I fully don't agree with that. But ISKCON also need to be a bit more patient, and also the people and the government of Bangladesh also need to be more patient. But there is a gap in understanding, especially the ISKCON. They have been disputed for their role before. Like there are a lot of Hindu people like Bishwajit, Nipun Rai, Goeshwar Chandra Rai. These are the people had been
Sir,
beaten,
this is
tortured
not a
before.
discussion on Hindu religion, and this is not a discussion on who represents them. This is a very simple question I asked you, and a discussion on the fact that the Hindu community, which is about 8% in Bangladesh, they've said that they've been at the receiving end of a lot of attacks ever since there's been a power change that has taken place. All those
I got your
fears,
question.
all those
I got your
fears
question.
get further enhanced due to such arrests. Why was he denied bail?
I got your question, but fact is that actually the things happened. That is a different issue. The conspiracy behind the conspiracy. Here, the political motive
What
is working,
conspiracy?
keeping the religion at the front.
What
So
conspiracy, sir?
here, yeah, the conspiracy is that it's not exactly the ISKCON people. ISKCON is keeping at the forefront, but behind the ISKCON, there are some political figures with ill motive, like against the current government. Some political parties they are working
Anjit
and
Sen,
they are
respond to
keeping the
that.
ISKCON.
There's a conspiracy angle that the Bangladesh interim government has said is the reason why the Hindu priest is now being kept in jail and has been denied bail.
And
Well, there is no conspiracy at all
Chinmoy,
because, at the
Chinmoy
first
Das
place,
is not
if
for
you
the
Let
had
Hindu
followed,
Anjit
if you
religion,
had
respond.
followed,
not for the
Let
ISKCON.
Anjit respond, please.
No, no,
if you
I
had
need to
followed
answer
the
this.
words of Chinmoy Krishna Das very carefully, Major Razaul, one thing he very clearly said that we are not against anybody. Number one. Number two, we are not favoring any political party or the current government in place. We are equally Bangladesh. We are equally a Bangladesh citizen. So from that perspective, there is no way that ISKCON or the
Mr.
Bangladesh
Sen, Mr.
Sanatan
Sen,
Jagran
So do you
I
think,
fully,
the
I
okay,
agree
government
with you.
okay,
Mr. Sen,
then
I
this,
agree with
okay,
you.
okay, okay, all right.
Just a moment.
Major
I agree
Razaul
with
Karim,
Mr.
I'm going
Sen.
to ask you a
Yeah,
question and I'm going to give you a chance to respond
yeah,
also.
I need to answer
And I'm going to
something.
get a
I need to answer
counter from
something.
Anjit also. It's a very
Yeah,
serious
yeah.
issue and an issue that in fact ignites a lot of passions, which is why we are trying to have a very dispassionate, objective, unbiased discussion on it. The question is
Yeah.
that the
Yes.
crisis of confidence that the interim government has when it comes to the minority community in Bangladesh, do you think that gets amplified with Chinmoy Krishna Das not getting a bail and being
Then
jailed right now?
let me ask you before answering. Let me ask you one questions. There are 8 claims by the ISKCON. Why those 8 claims had not been raised during the army government period? Why it is raised at this current government period? Then my second question to you: have you checked the reasons for which the Chinmoy is arrested? There is a proven allegation against him that he was instigating for communal riots
No,
around the
he was
country.
speaking
And
peacefully and the gathering was peaceful, but let's get Ayanjit to respond to that. Ayanjit, respond to the fact that those charges that have been
I talked
raised
to the local detective
and
branch
made
officer. I talked to the
against
local
Chinmoy Krishna
detective branch
Das.
officer.
Well, the first thing is that you cannot impress upon sedition charges on a monk for saying something about a peaceful way of functioning of a democracy. If you consider Bangladesh
if it is
still a
true,
democracy
I
there,
fully agree with you. Mr.
number one.
Shen, if it is
Number
true,
two,
what you
he
said,
very clearly
then I
said
fully
in
agree
both the
with you.
meetings, because it was said as sedition because he had adorned the saffron flag. But remember, it's not your country's flag. It was his flag, his organization's flag, nothing to do with your country. But the Bangladesh at the end of the day remains Bangladesh. So from that perspective, he didn't do anything illegal. And number two, most importantly, you said that it's proven. How can you prove a charge against somebody? The case is yet to, I mean, the case has gone to the court, but it has not been decided as yet. Just because of the way he spoke does not mean that at the end of the day he is found guilty. Number one. And number two, he very clearly said one thing, that I am not against any political party of Bangladesh or anybody to do with the current administration. We are just voicing our concerns, our feelings. From that
Okay,
perspective,
let's get in a
if you
very
take
quick
Yeah,
response
Mr.
from
Sen,
Dhaka,
in the TV
given
media,
the
we have
fact that,
seen
that
people had
there
been
are
there
many
with
who are
facial in the court
dissatisfied.
premises. In the court premises, people had been found there with the trishul, and they were behaving very extreme, and kind of extremism
Okay.
was observed in front of the court. So, actually, proven means there are a lot of videos.
Sir, nothing is
lot of
proven. There are only allegations.
statements
And
available.
what we are seeing are very disturbing visuals of people peacefully protesting being, in fact, at the receiving end of a crackdown. But this is an issue I'm going to come back
Maybe you
to
have
in the
seen the
next couple of
event,
days,
not the
because
live event.
unfortunately it looks
Maybe you have
like
seen the
this could be
event.
part of a larger issue that India has been raising diplomatically against Bangladesh, to Bangladesh on more occasions. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out your time and being on India Global. In fact, some of those visuals have been truly disturbing that have come in from Bangladesh. All right, shifting focus now to the other big story, which is that today marks the 16th anniversary of one of the most tragic and harrowing chapters in India's history. That is the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. 160 people lost their lives that day. 26 foreigners, over 300 people were wounded. It was a 60-hour siege that left the city shaken and the nation in grief. But it was also a day that showcased extraordinary acts of courage and resilience from Mumbai's police, security forces and citizens, many of whom put their own lives at risk to save others. 26/11 was a day when Pakistan sent terrorists to attack India's financial capital. And as we remember the victims of the attacks, their families and the survivors, we also pay tributes to the countless acts of heroism and the resilience that followed the tragedy. All right, we're slipping into a very short break. We come back on the other side and talk more about China's BRI project, and is it in troubled waters? Stay with us.
We know that living with diabetes can make daily life a challenge, and we're here to help.
I felt very low with the diagnosis and very lonely as well, and embarrassed.
I think people don't necessarily realise the impact that being diabetic can have on you, and the amount of extra decisions you have to make a day through carb counting every single thing you eat.
If you're struggling with the everyday challenges diabetes can bring, become a Diabetes UK member today. Receive this informative welcome pack and Balance magazine.
Balance magazine has been very good in giving me tips to manage my diabetes on a day-to-day basis.
One of the things I was recommended to do was exercise. What motivated me was my love of dance, and I got that back.
Join a community that really understands. Call 0800 035 7605 or go online to become a member for just £3 a month.
TUI's Black Friday deals have landed. Save up to £300 per booking with a My TUI account. Pick from tons of flight options and holiday durations. Get away for less this Black Friday. Offers now on. TUI. Live happy. Financially protected by Atoll.
Quickly remove unwanted hairs with the new U Body and Face Trimmer from JML. Your pain-free way to tackle any unwanted hairs that pop out of nowhere. The wide dual head design and floating heads adjust to the curves of your skin. Gentle enough to use on your upper lip, knees and ankles, and even your bikini line. No nicks, cuts or irritation. Remove unwanted hairs anytime, anywhere with the new U Body and Face Trimmer. Only $19.99 from Asda, Argos, Boots, Tesco and JMLdirect.com. JML, your Christmas made easier.
Introducing your Tombola bugs. It's Spidey.
Oh, hi.
Flutter.
Make sure you get my good side.
Roar.
Yeah, we're the celebs now.
What are you playing, Snail?
Bug Match. It's back.
Bug Match is back, and it's free to play. This year, someone will win £1,000 every day.
Winner is served.
Open for fun.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Welcome back. This is India Global. The key story that we are now focusing on is the latest that's unfolding in Nepal, where what one is seeing is shifting strategy of Kathmandu. The Prime Minister of Nepal is known to be very close to China, but there's been some movement and some very important developments that have happened there. In fact, China's BRI project could be in a lot of trouble when it comes to Nepal, simply because the Nepalese Prime Minister now is under tremendous pressure to not sign the BRI deal. Why? Because BRI is a loan-based venture. But the Nepalese Prime Minister is under pressure from his government and his coalition partners to only sign grants-based projects. That is, if China gives a grant, then the project will be approved. But if China gives those expensive loans, then it will not be approved. And that's the reason why there's now a lot of tension between Nepalese coalition partners as well as Nepal and China. Now, how does this unfold for India? There is reasons for some discomfort for India. The fact that the current Nepalese Prime Minister is close to China. He's already broken from tradition, decided to go to China ahead of New Delhi. That hasn't happened till now. But, well, there's a lot of churn that's taking place in Nepal and Nepal politics right now. But what India has been able to do in the last 4 years successfully, that is, talk about the BRI pitfalls, is now beginning to bear fruit. And that's exactly what we will be discussing in terms of what lies ahead going forward. Joining me on the broadcast is Ambassador Manjeev Puri, who's been the ambassador to Nepal in the past, and in fact he joins me on the show right now. In fact, Ambassador Puri, you've been at the forefront of putting out some of these pitfalls of BRI to the intelligentsia and intellectuals, the society and the academicians at large. And one would say some of that is now bearing fruit with the Nepalese Prime Minister under immense pressure from his own government.
Gaurie, thank you very much. And you used an expression, troubled waters. That perhaps I'm not able to say, but certainly it's not smooth sailing. Now, without any doubt, this has something to do with coalition politics. Mr. Oli is actually the junior partner in this coalition. His party has a lesser number of seats than the Nepali Congress in the parliament in Nepal. However, he is the Prime Minister. He would have certainly wanted to go there and sort of redeem a pledge that he made many years back, that he would bring Nepal onto the BRI stream. But the Nepali Congress has been firm. The geopolitics of it, you mentioned India. Let's also not forget the Western world, which also would have used its powers of influence on the Nepalese polity to tell them that, look, think through this. But I want to make another point to you. The Nepalese have been quite careful on the issue of taking loans and kind of pride themselves that while they are open to take grants and donations and so on, they haven't really fallen into a debt trap. Something which has been seen by many other places which have gone in for BRI projects. We know Hambantota in Sri Lanka and so on and so forth. So the BRI is not a smooth sailing in Nepal, which is perfectly fine from our side, from a geopolitical perspective. For the Chinese, it isn't smooth sailing in other parts of the world either. The Italians and several of the Europeans who were looking at the end side of BRI, they've also been saying they're pulling out, etc. So, and the Chinese economy itself is not in a hunky-dory state at the moment, that you simply write off loans, give checks, and so on and so forth. So, look, it's geopolitics. It can't be hunky-dory and all good sailing for the Chinese. They also need to meet.
I would say, Ambassador Puri, I think there's been a lot of awakening in the Nepalese society also after the airport that didn't go as planned. In fact, The Pokhara International Airport was a wake-up call for people in Nepal. But talk to us about the fact that how unstable is the present government. They've been playing musical chairs the last couple of years. In fact, what do you think about the present government, given the fact that it's under a lot of pressure from Nepali Congress, the larger coalition partner, who's actually ensured, so far at least, that Nepal doesn't go and embrace those one-sided BRI loans?
So, Gaurie, the Nepalese have been aware of what it means to interact with the Chinese, but they do it still, despite that. And they've not done it in the past few years. They've done it for many, many decades. That's the nature of Nepal, which considers itself some kind of yam between India and China. And so they believe very strongly that to have reasonable, good relations with China is important for them as a country. We should understand this. The Pokhara airport, the Bhairava airport, those things are clear. They are very well known to everyone. But yet, in the past, Mr. Oli as well as Mr. Prachand have gone ahead with the deals with the Chinese. The Nepali Congress has stood firm. That is a very good sign. And it's also a sign of the relationships that we have with them, with the Western world has with them. No doubt about all that at all. But, you're talking about the coalition. Look, these are the two largest parties in the parliament. And usually, you hope that coalitions are one large party, a few small parties get together, and there's a large opposition. This time, the opposition has become very small. Will they stay together? Will they not? They have solid reasons to remain together despite all these ups and downs.
Yes.
Why? Because there's a kind of power sharing. It's between the two of them, not, as they say, the smalls of the world getting a shot.
Yes.
There are three big players in Nepal. Mr. Oli, who leads the Communist Party, Mr. Sher Bahadur Dioba, who leads the Nepali Congress, and Mr. Prachand, who leads Maoist, which is a small group. But Mr. Prachand has invariably found himself becoming Prime Minister, playing on the fears of the larger players. So, difficult to say. Nepal is a place where Ayaram, Gayaram is the order of the day. People have no hesitation in changing sides, breaking each other, etc. In fact, people would say this coalition has already lasted 8-9 months. Well, by Nepalese standards, it's time.
Yes, indeed, and that has several implications for New Delhi. In fact, thank you so much, Ambassador Puri, for speaking to me on India Global. And on that note, we're slipping into a very short break. We come back on the other side with lots more stories, including what's the latest in countdown to Trump 2.0. Stay with us.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
सर, सबसे ज़्यादा ब्लॉकबस्टर फिल्में डिलीवर करी अमिताभ बच्चन के साथ में, और आप लोगों की जोड़ी टूटने का एक असर अमिताभ बच्चन जी पे भी जरूर पड़ा होगा।
जरूर पड़ा होगा। उनको इस बात का अफसोस हुआ होगा कि
कभी बात हुई उनकी आपकी इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, मैं अगर होता उनकी जगह और जैसे जावेद साहब गए या मैं गया तो उनको यही राय देता है कि मत छोड़ो, अच्छा खासा तुम्हारी एक जोड़ी है, वो काम कर रही है, अच्छा खासा चल रहा है, काय के लिए इसको तोड़ते हो। तो मैं होता तो ये करता।
तो फिर आप उनकी बात सुन लेते और उसका फिर जोड़ी वापस आ जाती?
नहीं, जोड़ी वापस नहीं आती, बस ज़रूरत ही नहीं काम करने की, ये तोड़ने की, करते रहो। तो अगर मैं होता तो ये राय देता। पता नहीं उन्होंने क्या राय दी है वो।
पर आपकी बात हुई कभी उनसे इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, बात तो होती रहती है, मुलाकात हो जाती है। तो मगर वैसे वो ज़्यादा सख्ती से बात करते भी नहीं हैं।
अपने में रहने वाले
अपने वो ज़्यादा किसी के करीब आते नहीं हैं, वो
अपने में ही रहने वाले रिजर्व आदमी हैं। और बाकी जो इंडस्ट्री थी, जब आप लोग हटे, आप लोगों की जोड़ी हटी, तो बाकी इंडस्ट्री का क्या रिएक्शन था उस समय? उसके बाद
कुछ लोग तो खुश होते हैं कि अच्छा हुआ, कुछ लोगों को तकलीफ होती है। अलग अलग लोगों के व्यूज़ होते हैं, अलग अलग लोगों के साथ
पर आपने उसके बाद लोगों को बदलते हुए देखा, आप अपना अलग जब काम लेके जाते थे, अकेले जब काम लेके जाते थे, तो उसकी रिसेप्शन किसी अलग तरह
नहीं, वो तो होता था, डेफिनेटली था वो
पीपल वर चेंज्ड।
आप जो नाम का जो वैल्यू जो था,
ब्रांड की जो वैल्यू थी।
हाँ, अभी अगर आप कोई कहे दादाजी, तो कौन सा दादाजी? दादाजी धाकजी से बन रहता है। महेंद्र, कौन महेंद्र? महेंद्र एंड महेंद्र। हाँ, तो वो नाम के पैसे मिलते थे। अभी भी अगर वो वापस आएगा नाम के सरी में जावे, तो उसका वैल्यू होगा, डेफिनेटली होगा।
तो क्यों नहीं एक फिल्म बना लीजिए?
हाँ, तो बनाने का इरादा है। हाँ,
definitely. So we can break some news to our viewers that Salim Javed would be returning very soon.
Come back.
This is India Global. You're watching the big stories that are happening around the world and how New Delhi gets impacted on those. In fact, the one story that I think a lot of Indians are now going to be impacted is coming in from US universities. And in fact, this comes in our section Countdown to Trump 2.0, where we're talking about all stories that we need to keep a watch on as Donald Trump comes into office in 2 months from now. And the latest is that US universities have been now emailing international students and staff advising them to return to the campus before President-elect Donald Trump takes office, which is on 20th of January, and amidst concerns over his plans for mass deportations. Now, how does this impact Indian students? Well, they are now the largest students coming in from any international area outside of the US. A trend they've actually beaten after 15 years, which means that there will be a very large number of undocumented students coming in from India as well. There are a total of 4 lakh undocumented students. Several of them are likely to come from India simply because India now sends the largest number of international students to US universities. Now, how does this impact the students? What is the recourse they have, the legal options, and of course, how soon there should be a plan in place is exactly what we will now be focusing on. And let's get in guests joining me on the show. Sameer Kedekar, who's joining me from California, and we have Varun Singh, who's an immigration expert, joining me as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out the time speaking to me on India Global. Let me start with you, Sameer. You're sitting in California where, well, the one thing that everybody's talking about is what is going to be Trump's mass deportation plan looking like. He said again and again that he's going to focus on those who have a violent history and those who are national security threats. Of course, undocumented students do not qualify as being at the top of the list. But how important it is for students to now have a plan in place after 20th of January?
Well, this is a complicated topic. I think it's important to distinguish between those that are undocumented, meaning they don't have visas, right? They don't have the permission to stay or be in the U.S., versus student visa holders. If somebody has a student visa, they are not undocumented, okay? So the schools that are sending messages out to their students are just trying to be out in front of any travel bans that the president may issue when he takes office on January 20th. The last time he was president, he issued unexpected travel bans at the very outset
travel ban
of his presidency. Yes.
This time around as well?
We don't know what he's going to do, and because everybody wants to be out in front of what might happen, universities just feel a responsibility to make sure their students are back in the U.S. before January 20th in case any travel ban is issued.
Right. Varun, then let me ask you this, that as an expert on immigration, what do you think or how is it that you are going to advise those who are seeking advice as far as immigration is concerned, those who are likely to be impacted? What is your 1 or 2 key areas or advice that you're giving?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gaurie. See, we need to also understand the Indian families, especially the South Indian families, mainly from Telangana or Andhra. If you see the numbers, they are the largest contributor for the education in United States. And there are a lot of issues have come across where a lot of universities and colleges which are not listed or they are not licensed. In fact, students have been going to US just for the sake of getting a foreign exposure. US exposure means basically the US dreams. So according to me, I believe whatever Trump is doing and whatever he is going to do, it is for the betterment for his country and for the people, and increasing the border
No,
security.
of course it is. That's why he's been elected. But what I'm saying is that what is your advice to those who are seeking to study there, who are already studying there? What's your advice for them? That's what I'm saying.
See, advice, I can only say that let them not divert from their education and get into anything else which is in regards to political or any kind of shows which is basically which is out of your studies parameters. So I will always advise the parents and the students who go to education that they should focus only on completing their education, nothing else. And once they complete their education, then their pathway for jobs and the residencies, it becomes very clear. And choosing the right universities, choosing the right colleges, right course, this becomes a very important factor at initial step, because the consultant's role is to help and protect the students, because they don't have that exposure and expertise to know after education and during education.
Okay.
So we advise that, of course, you should have a cross-check,
Samir,
background check.
okay, all right, Varun. Samir, talk to us about the kind of concerns that students are raising, and you know, what is the kind of counsel that can be provided?
Yeah, so I think when looking at what might happen, you want to look at what happened in the past presidency. In the past presidency, the Trump administration tried to make it very difficult for students to maintain their status in the U.S. They tried to create very harsh penalties for messing up, you know, your paperwork or falling out of status and things like that. We anticipate they might try to do the same thing this time around as well. So my advice to students and their parents, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds. These are basically children, right, who are learning how to be responsible in this world. But the responsibilities for maintaining your paperwork as a student visa holder are very difficult. Many grown adults would mess that up. So my advice to the students and the parents are to make sure they work in lockstep with their universities, make sure they fully understand their obligations as students in terms of paperwork, reporting their classes, reporting their employment and their internships, and all of their responsibilities. The schools do a very good job of providing information to them. Just make sure that you are very well aware of what those responsibilities are so that you don't run afoul of the immigration rules.
Okay, now I want to address the bit about undocumented students. Yes, there are those who are legally studying there and those who are very much on a valid visa. But talk to us, Samir, about the undocumented students. The numbers seem to be significant. How much of it is going to impact India?
So the undocumented student population is definitely in the shadows. Many call them DACA holders or dreamers, okay? And some schools allow them to attend their schools and others don't. So there's not a lot of information on that. But certainly anybody who's undocumented in the US is at risk of being caught up in this deportation process that Trump and his staff are talking about. So if one does not have a visa in the US, then I would be concerned and certainly seek the counsel of immigration attorneys.
All right, Samir and Varun, thank you so much for taking out the time and really explaining to us the significance of what Trump's planning to do and how it may impact Indian students. Really appreciate you taking out the time. In fact, shifting focus now and staying, in fact, with Countdown to Trump 2.0. Another very important story that's coming in is about, well, tariffs. It's not a surprise, something that Donald Trump has said all along in his campaign speeches, and something he's also likely to come good on, given the fact that it's an extension of his earlier administration policies, which is, well, tariffs to be imposed on Canada, Mexico, goods coming in from these countries, and of course, China. 25% will be the tariffs that will be put on illegal immigration, on drugs that will be put on these countries. And in addition to that, of course, there'll be a further 10% tariff that will be put on Chinese goods. This has sent shockwaves throughout global markets, reigniting fears that there will be a trade war that will take place and it could upend decades of international relations. Speaking from his Mar-a-Lago estate, Donald Trump, president-elect, declared that the United States will impose a 25% tax on all products entering the country from these two geographies, and of course, as I mentioned, from China as well. There are several weeks to go for this to really take shape, and in the interim, China has begun singing a retaliatory tone. Its Washington embassy has said neither the United States nor China would win from any trade war, a departure from how it was in the first Trump administration when it was tariff hike being met by more tariff hike. It was a cycle of tariff hikes that went on. Now for China, the tariffs are a direct hit to its manufacturing industries, and this as the Washington imports from the Asian giant exceeded hundreds of billions of dollars annually. He said the new tariffs would remain in place until such time as drugs, in particular, of course, fentanyl, which is a major issue, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Yes, those were his exact words. But it's not just China feeling the heat. Canada and Mexico, both of whom have long-standing trade agreements with the U.S., are also now at the center of a growing storm. The tariffs, if they do pass, which is highly likely, could severely disrupt the supply chains around the world, and particularly those that rely on North American trade, especially in industries like auto manufacturing, where parts flow freely across borders. Mexico, already grappling with economic challenges, warns that this could lead to job losses and higher cost for consumers going forward. All right, we're taking a quick break. We come back on the other side, talk more about the ceasefire that's been in the works between Israel and Lebanon. Stay with us.
It's been a difficult year for our family. We're finally going through my Tom's things. I want to make him proud, and that starts by making sure our son is protected.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
That's great.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
That money could help with debts or my funeral costs. I'll do it.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
What's wrong with the car? It's okay, lads. I'm with the AA. Ah, Bombay mix.
Because the AA has more expert patrols across the country, you'll be back on the road in no time. No wonder more people choose the AA. Join today.
As a dad, I know life's unpredictable. It's all fun and games until it's not.
You okay?
I want my kids to always be looked after. That's why I'm not putting things off anymore and protecting the life we've built by calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6797 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
You could save £163 when you switch to a new broadband service. Go on, set yourself free. Switch and save now at uswitch.com.
Oh look, 2 little ducks. 22.
Not now.
At Gala, we want to help you gamble responsibly. So check out our safety tools online, like timeout, deposit limits, and max stake limits.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. A big story that we're now focusing is the latest as far as the West Asia crisis that continues, where Israel's security cabinet is set to discuss the ceasefire deal that's been brokered between France and the US and try and find some sort of peace deal that could work in the long term. G7 and Arab ministers await news on the proposed ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah. The conflict continues to simmer. In the latest, multiple explosions were seen in Beirut's southern suburbs today morning, and the explosions caused loud booms and huge plumes of smoke. They were captured following each other consecutively on Tuesday. On the other hand, Hezbollah rockets and drone attacks on northern Israel seriously injured 2 elderly people and a soldier. In response, Israeli warplanes carried out strikes on the terror group's Lebanese stronghold. As the war drags on, Israel's security cabinet is now set to convene very shortly to discuss the proposed ceasefire. Among issues that remain is an Israeli demand to reserve the right to act should Hezbollah violate its obligations under the emerging deal. On the diplomatic front, outgoing EU foreign policy chief Josep Borrell has called for increased pressure on Israel to blunt extremists in the government who are refusing to accept the deal. Speaking on the sidelines of the G7 foreign ministers meeting in Italy, Borrell warned that if a ceasefire is not implemented, Lebanon, quote-unquote, will fall apart. Listen in.
On Lebanon, there is no excuses for a ceasefire. On the proposal agreement brokered by the US and France, Israel has all security concerns. There is not an excuse for not implementing a ceasefire. Otherwise, Lebanon will fall apart.
Now, the human cost of the war keeps on rising. Hundreds of mourners gathered on Monday under pouring rain for a ceremony ahead of a funeral of an Israeli Moldovan rabbi who was killed in the UAE. The UAE police have arrested 3 Uzbek nationals for killing of the rabbi, an attack that's raised concern for the Israeli community in the country. In fact, let's quickly now get in an update from Melissa Weiss, who is executive editor of the Jewish Insider, joining me from Tel Aviv to give us a sense of how things are unfolding right now. Melissa, thanks much for speaking to me. Talk to us about the ceasefire deal that's likely to, of course, be taken up by the cabinet, the prospects of it being passed, and how that could change the entire war from here on.
Sure. So the Israeli Security Cabinet is set to vote in the next few hours on whether or not to accept the proposal for a 60-day temporary ceasefire. It is expected to pass, though there might be some opposition. But ultimately, the question of what happens with the ceasefire comes down to enforcement. Will UNIFIL, will international troops, will there be enforcement of the parameters of the agreement? We know from what happened in 2016 with UN Security Council Resolution 1701, there was an agreement that clearly laid out the stipulations that each side would follow. We know that Hezbollah breached those agreements, and that is how we ended up in this situation today. So the key question comes down to whether or not the international community will be able or willing to enforce the stipulations in the ceasefire proposal.
All right, Melissa, thanks much for giving us that detail. And of course, we wait for what really comes out of that ceasefire deal and proposal. Shifting focus now to the other major war that we are tracking, which continues to, of course, have very disastrous global implications. That is the Russia-Ukraine war. It's been over 1,000 days and counting, and there seems to be no end in sight right now. Latest updates that are coming in is that Russia has fired 188 drones into Ukraine early Tuesday morning. And viewers, it is the highest number in a single night since the beginning of the war. Ukraine's military claims shooting down 76 of those weapons, adding it lost track of 96 of the drones. This comes after Russia claimed on Monday that its forces attacked Ukraine's energy facilities, as Kiev reported on the same day its troops were engaged in over 200 battles on the front line. According to Russia's defense ministry, the forces have captured another village in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region, meanwhile upping its ante against Moscow and Kremlin. The Keir Starmer-led UK government has reportedly supplied Ukraine with dozens more of the Storm Shadow cruise missiles that have a range of about 250 kilometers, similar to the US Army tactical missile systems. In Italy, Ukraine's foreign minister joined his G7 counterparts for the foreign ministers' talks in Italy. Speaking to ministers, the Italian foreign minister said and pledged support to Ukraine. Listen in.
We want to back Ukraine. We are working for peace, but we don't have peace without justice. Justice is the freedom of Ukraine.
All right, shifting focus now to the big entertainment story on the show. Stars and creators from at least 21 countries gathered on the red carpet for the 52nd Annual International Emmy Awards from New York. And guess what? Indian actor Aditya Roy Kapoor and comedian Veer Das posed before getting to the gala where awards were given out. Das also spoke to reporters on the carpet before the ceremony, explained the connection between politics and comedy. Take a look at this report that tells you what all happened at that star-studded event.
Major platforms are here tonight.
For the first time ever, an Indian hosted the International Emmy Awards. Veer Das made history, bringing his signature humor to the stage. From taking jabs at OTT giants to making light of the famous Will Smith, Chris Rock Oscar slap.
I'm from Mumbai in India. It is very good to be here completely legally. I'm not a citizen. It's a very quick visit, in and out. I was just here to vote.
Veer's sharp wit and fearless humor had the audience in stitches. But there was also plenty of recognition for outstanding talent across the globe.
It's a huge achievement to see our film and series.
Wow, such an honor. He looked me in the eye. He said, "You can do this."
I'm sorry I won. It's because you deserve it as well.
Thank you to the Academy. This is truly an honor.
The evening saw fierce competition in 14 categories, with 21 countries represented. Let us take you through the most important ones. The Night Manager, starring Aditya Roy Kapoor, was nominated for Best Drama Series. But the coveted award went to Drops of God, a French-American-Japanese co-production.
This is truly an honor. Drops of God brought international audiences into the world of wine in a way that we've never seen before. We're so grateful that it was embraced and celebrated in the way that it was.
In the acting categories, English actor Timothy Spall earned Best Actor honors for his powerful performance in The Sixth Commandment.
What I want to say to you is I know you're brilliant, you're fantastic, and I'm sorry I won. It's because you deserve it as well, all right? I really mean that, and I really, really mean it. So you're going to be disappointed, but you're really brilliant, and God bless you.
Performance by an actress goes to Akbad Chudiman, Tren Charles, and Suki.
And in a standout moment, Thai actress Aukbab claimed the Best Actress award for her performance in Hunger.
To my team Hunger, my deepest gratitude goes to my showrunner, Pi Khongdet, Pi Thongdi, my producer, and Pi Dom, my director.
And the International Emmy for Comedy goes to...
In the comedy category, Argentina's División Palermo took the prize.
División Palermo!
A night to remember, as the International Emmys once again proved that television is truly a universal language, connecting us all across borders with incredible stories and performances.
All right, a big story coming in from the world of sports. Who would have thought a 13-year-old boy from Bihar will make history as the youngest ever player to be bought at an Indian Premier League auction. Vaibhav Suryavanshi was sold to the Rajasthan Royals for a whopping 1.1 crore rupees on day of the 2025 mega IPL auction in Jote. The Rajasthan Royals were involved, in fact, in a bidding war for the player with the Delhi Capitals, who pulled out after the Royals offer. Let's get in now, Osama, to give us all the details of a bidding war that no one would have expected, Osama.
Absolutely, nobody would have expected. And the big question, Gaurie, is what were you and I doing when we were 13-year-old? Certainly not playing cricket, and certainly not being auctioned at this mega event that took place in Jeddah, and two franchises fighting over both of us. This little boy, 13-year-old Suryavanshi, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, he has in fact created history. He is the youngest ever player to be playing at the Indian Premier League, one of the toughest T20 leagues in the world. And what a proud moment for this 13-year-old and his family. Remember, he comes from a very small town in Bihar, Samastipur. And at just the age of 12 years, he, in fact, started playing first-class cricket. He, in fact, participated in the Ranji Trophy, which is, again, one of the premier test championship in this country, and that basically sets the benchmark for every player who wants to take that next step and play for their state and play for their countries. And remember, at the age of 13, he was then selected for the under-19 Indian cricket team, which is again something that is absolutely unheard of, something that him and his family would be really, really proud of. Again, at the Youth Test Championship, this is also a first. He scored a century right on his debut, and that too of 58 balls. And that is basically what caught the eyes of a lot of these franchises. Remember, Delhi Capitals and Rajasthan Royals, both these franchises, they had called Vaibhav Suryavanshi for trials. And in both the trials, he was given a task to score 17 runs in 1 over. What he did was, again, something that nobody expected. He scored 3 sixes in both these trials of the very first 3 balls. And then that bidding war started in Jeddah.
Wow.
So absolutely a great addition to Indian cricket, and we'll all be hoping and waiting for him to shine at the upcoming Indian Premier League.
Absolutely, Osama. I can't do anything about my childhood, but I can most certainly give this as an inspiring story to my children. Thank you so much for telling us what an inspiring story that is. All right, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
We know that living with diabetes can make daily life a challenge, and we're here to help.
I felt very low with the diagnosis and very lonely as well, and embarrassed.
I think people don't necessarily realise the impact that being diabetic can have on you, and the amount of extra decisions you have to make a day through carb counting every single thing you eat.
Day-to-day living with diabetes is really difficult. So Diabetes UK has made my life easier every day.
If you're struggling with the everyday challenges diabetes can bring, maybe it's time to become a Diabetes UK member. Call 0800 035 7601 or go online to become a member. And for just £3 a month, you'll get a welcome pack and a practical guide tailored to your type of diabetes, and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year.
Balance magazine has been very good in giving me tips to manage my diabetes on a day-to-day basis.
Plus regular email updates with the latest diabetes news and special discounts.
One of the things I was recommended to do was exercise. What motivated me was my love of dance, and I got that back.
Join a community that really understands. Call 0800 035 7601 or go online to become a member for just £3 a month.
I would recommend Diabetes UK to anyone with diabetes. Join up, become part of a community, get that support that you need.
Introducing your Tombola bugs. It's Spivey.
Oh, hi.
Flutter.
Make sure you get my good side.
Yeah,
we're the celebs now.
What are you playing, Snail?
Bug Match. It's back.
Bug Match is back, and it's free to play.
This year, someone will win £1,000 every day.
Winner is served.
Open for fun.
At Tesco Mobile, that Black Friday feeling lasts longer. Get the epic Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra with unlimited data for just $49.99 a month with Club Card prices. That's a huge Black Friday saving of £738. And what's more, that price is frozen for your whole contract. Plus, you'll also get Club Card points for even more value, turning Black Friday into Black Friday. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Unleash the power of hands-free lighting with Neck Bright from JML. The powerful and versatile wearable neck light. Easily adjust the direction or how bright you need the light. The lights are also detachable, and the magnetic base lets you attach it to any metal surface, giving you the right light when and where you need it. Discover the ultimate hands-free lighting solution this Christmas with Neck Bright. Only $19.99 from Asda, Argos, Homebase, Tesco and JMLdirect.com. JML, your Christmas made easier.
Staff in Hyderabad avert a cyber fraud. But first, let's take you through the top national headlines. At the Apex Court's Constitution Day function, the Prime Minister says the Constitution is our guiding light, says the focus is on social and economic equality. The opposition demands 2 days in Parliament to discuss the Constitution. Supreme Court dismisses plea questioning EVMs and a return to ballot paper, says when parties win, they are okay with EVMs, but not when they lose. The chief ministerial suspense continues in Maharashtra. Eknath Shinde resigns, but the Mahayuti yet to decide who will lead it in the state. Fadnavis remains frontrunner, but will Shinde relent? A red alert for the Delta districts of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry as the deep depression of the Bay of Bengal is set to intensify into a cyclone. Well, first up this evening, the top national story was the face-off between the opposition and the government on Constitution Day. Just a short while ago, the Prime Minister addressed the gathering at the Apex Court's Constitution Day event and declared that the Constitution remains the guiding light and the focus is on social and economic equality. Earlier in the day, the President addressed a joint session of both Houses of Parliament and led the Houses in reading the preamble of the Constitution. There were emphatic statements from the opposition and the government about safeguarding the Constitution, while the President called the Constitution a live and progressive document. The aggressive exchange between the government and the opposition continued. While the Prime Minister and Home Minister greeted the nation on the 75th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution of India, opposition led by Rahul Gandhi and Mallikarjun Kharge demanded a debate on the Constitution in both Houses of Parliament, emphasizing that the current events emphasize the need for such a debate. The face-off between the two sides expected to dominate the winter session of Parliament.
The one who never even given respect to the one who made the Constitution, Dr. Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar. Not even a single picture till 1889, when repeatedly they had back-to-back their governments till then. Not even a single picture of his was there in the central hall, whereas n number of members coming from their party, their portrait were there inside the central hall. Three members from one family, their pictures were there in the central hall. So that's the kind of someone they have given to the Constitution and to the Nirmata of the Constitution. And they are talking about this by imposing emergency, by making sure that Baba Saheb loses election. That's the kind of someone they have given. Today, when my Prime Minister says and repeatedly, he repeats the sankalp, कि देश चलेगा तो संविधान के आधार पर चलेगा, and this is what he's been proving by all his actions.
See, today is a very special occasion where we are remembering the contribution of our constitution makers, and we just want to take this opportunity to allow in both houses all political parties to reaffirm their commitment to the constitution. I think it's a very positive and constructive discussion, and the government should not have any concern regarding it.
और तब बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ने कहा था, Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It's a spirit is always the spirit of age. जिस स्पिरिट की बात बाबा साहब कहते थे वो बहुत ही अहम है। देश काल परिस्थिति के हिसाब से उचित निर्णय लेकर हम संविधान की समय समय पर व्याख्या कर सकें, ये प्रावधान हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं ने हमें दिया है।
Well, from that national face-off that would perhaps dominate the winter session of Parliament in the next coming days, now to the face-off in Karnataka, a special focus this evening. The Congress leadership in Karnataka is sending out a stern message to its MLAs not to question the state's much publicized welfare guarantees. Deputy Chief Minister and the State Congress President D.K. Shiv Kumar today sent out a reprimand to veteran Congress MLA from Vijaypura, H.R. Gaviyappa, for seeking a rollback of some of the guarantees to free up finances for other schemes. While the financial implications of the guarantee schemes and the economic factors have had some strong and nuanced arguments on both sides of the spectrum, the political face-off over them intensified during the Maharashtra election campaign, and the Congress in Karnataka is keen to reiterate its commitment to the schemes which are still considered electorally extremely potent.
ಇವಾಗ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ಸ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮನೆಗಳು ಕೊಡೋದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇವಾಗ ಅದೇ ನಾವು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ 2-3 ಈ ಗಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ್ಡಾಡೋದು, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಯಾವ 1-2 ಯಾವ ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮನೆಗಳು ಕೊಟ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ನೋಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಅವರು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಭದ್ರವಾಗಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಪರಾಯ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು 40,000 ಕೋಟಿ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕನ್ನೋದೇ ಒಂದು ಯೋಚನೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಸಾಥ್ ಕೊಡೋಣ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡಿ.
And this is Congress party. I am going to issue my showcase notice. You can't do that. No question of closing any guarantee. Whatever may the cost come, we are committed to the people of Karnataka. We will implement it, and anyone can't raise the voice. Anyone. If any eligible is there, now who is not eligible, we will rectify. That is what we are doing in this BPL card. So like that, who is not eligible, who doesn't want, we can think of. A Congress MLA can't speak anything, or even a worker. This is, I am going to issue my showcase notice.
Well, stern message from the Deputy Chief Minister and the State Congress President there. But are there concerns within the Congress itself about the financial implications of the guarantees? If not, what's the way forward? Joining us this evening, Aga Sultan of the Congress Party as well as G.S. Prashant of the BJP. My first question to you, Mr. Sultan, while it is politically categorical that the Congress is reiterating its commitment to the 5 guarantee schemes, the murmurs within about the financial implications and the fact that other schemes may be suffering seems to have been coming for a long time. Is that genuine? How does the Congress view these internal comments?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me again. Well, I would like to reiterate that Congress stands for social and economic justice. The rich is getting richer, the poor is getting poorer in this country. Any democratically elected government has 2 things to do while its governance. One is welfare and other is development. Now, our Honorable Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister and the team, the cabinet, have earmarked 3,71,283 crores as their 2024-25 budget, and out of which 56,000 crores has been earmarked for the guarantee scheme, which comes to only 15%. So when we are supposed to deliver a decent living to any human being, what is wrong in this guarantee? The 5 guarantees are going to the poor. And now we are enlisting who are the income taxpayers and who are the government employees. They will not be eligible for any guarantee schemes. Now, taking the cue of our guarantees, the BJP government in Maharashtra also implemented a welfare scheme for the women. So what is wrong? And I think all parties, irrespective of any affiliation, should serve the poor and needy. That's exactly what Congress is doing. Now, coming to the statement of the MLA, our Honorable President KPCC and Deputy Chief Minister has already taken action by warning him, not only him, any MLA or any worker should not speak. So this guarantee scheme is there to stay till Congress is governing Karnataka. Thank you.
Okay, that's a categorical, emphatic point you're making. G.S. Prashant, the social justice argument is a strong and compelling one as far as the guarantees is concerned. Is the political opposition in Karnataka finding loopholes to punch the guarantee scheme only because they are extremely electorally potent at the grassroots? Your response.
See, it's definitely not like that. We've seen what has happened to Himachal Pradesh when arbitrary manner of guarantee schemes are going on there. And what has happened with the Himachal Bhavan, which has been pledged. So therefore, whenever Congress talks about these guarantees, the economic advisor to the chief minister was on record saying there is no money and we may have to relook at the amount being spent on guarantees. And he said that the coffers are dry. And from the budget which Siddaramaiah presented, what they originally had budgeted, they have received 14,000 crores less, which means they originally budgeted 1,75,000 crores as revenue. They got only 1,61,000 crores as revenue. And the current year, their estimates are wanting to go up to 1,88,000 crores, which means they're wanting to get more revenue of 27,000 crores. How are they doing it? Increasing taxes on the common man. They've increased stamp duty. They've increased the petrol and diesel prices. And now they recently, even the small price hikes in the hospitals, and from 750 rupees to 2,000 rupees, at wherever possible, they are milking the common man. One of the Congress ministers wanted to levy a green cess, so they're milking the common man, looting from the common man, and saying, on one hand, we want to give the guarantees. Even the guarantees, they say it is for BPL card holders, and they go on a spree cancelling BPL cards. So, and the Congress stands exposed now when its own MLA admits, unless the guarantee schemes are stopped, we don't have any money for development because there is zero development happening. Everybody is aware as to the situation of roads in Bangalore, especially the pothole-ridden roads and the crumbling infrastructure. And for the last 18 months, they've taken no steps. They only promise big things, but on the ground, it remains as a zero progress. And now look at the internal democracy in Congress. Nobody can speak a word, and they are bound by the first family decisions. So anybody who speaks against the decisions endorsed, no democracy in the Congress party.
You
only
made
claim
an
about
point.
being
I
champions,
have very little
but
time
in
left.
effect,
I just want to ask Aga Sultan very quickly, you know, in the political posturing about the commitment to the guarantees, while the guarantees have had, definitely a social welfare initiative and measures and advantages, are the fine nuanced economic arguments about how schemes are getting stifled and other development works getting stifled, which has been raised, are they being ignored and swept under the carpet? Very brief response from you before I give the last word to G.S. Prashant.
Well, I would like to reply to one statement of our honorable spokesperson from BJP. Every party worker, every MLA, every leader has the right to voice out. There should be some discipline in it. They should come to the party office, write a letter to the party president, not air out their views in public. Congress is a very disciplined party, and every worker and every leader has the right to voice out. But this gentleman did it in public. That's why he's being reprimanded, nothing else. And coming to the guarantees, it's just 15% of the budget. Hardly anything. Now, what does a poor person do when we have a capitalist economy today in India? The rich is getting richer and there's unemployment. And how do you empower the women? The women. We are empowering the women. We are empowering unemployment. So we are giving the incentives to the unemployed youth.
Prashant, are you willing to concede? Last word to you. Are you willing to concede that there have been definite, tangible economic benefits from these guarantee measures? At least some of them, while not all of them, but at least some of them, and hence you may have to support them at least partially. Very quickly.
Veera, it's not about opposing for the sake of it. Whenever BJP has taken on the welfare measures and given it to the people, it is done through a scientific manner, ensured that there are budget allocations and no U-turns on that. Whereas the Congress government, the ministers keep looting. You had one of the ministers involved in Maharshi Valmiki scam. You have the excise scam of 700 crores. The CM is involved in Muda scat scam. Whereas the Congress leaders are busy in looting through scams and now increasing the prices for the common man and saying we are going to even remove guarantees, which means that Congress is busy in filling up their coffers. The coffers of the state are dry. Common people are suffering, and
Prashant,
their leaders are making money.
I think the conversation's going beyond the substantial conversation around guarantees. I'll have to wrap it right now because we are short of time. But thank you too for joining us. Of course, this conversation, and perhaps a nuanced one, is extremely essential as far as assessing the impact of the guarantees so far and the way forward for Karnataka. But now to a story of how alert bank staff in Hyderabad went out of their way to protect a 61-year-old doctor from falling prey to an elaborate cyber fraud in which he was placed under quote-unquote digital